Now there's been an unfortunate trend lately of AAA games coming out with a significant lack of polish in the technical areas. The Callisto Protocol, everyone seemed excited about that one. Heck, even I got swept up in the excitement, and I had never played a Dead Space game before. Every reveal for the game looked exciting, and the marketing played perfectly into what fans wanted, and then the game comes out and it is apparently unplayable, especially if you have a PC. Now, it doesn't matter if a patch fixes the problems, because first impressions are very important, and the Callisto Protocol had a very negative one. You'd think we would have learned from Cyberpunk 27 to not let our hype get the better of us, and yet here we were again, burned by a developer we trusted. Now, despite these issues, some people still love both Cyberpunk 2077 and the Callisto Protocol, but it cannot be understated how much this negativity hurt both the reputation of the games and their respected developers. It's kind of a shame that gamers have gotten so used to bugs in their games that a lot of us barely register them anymore. Sonic Frontiers, Pokemon Scarlet Violet, the Callisto Protocol, Horizon Forbidden West, Assassin's Creed, Cyberpunk 2077, Battlefield 2042, Days Gone, these are all games that have released with some kind of performance issue. Now you can like these games, and as you will find out from this video, I do like some of the games I just mentioned, but it is undeniable that all of them required some kind of patch and just a little to a lot more time in the oven. Bugs can happen in any game, but each of these games had consistent across player base problems. However, like I said, a lot of gamers, myself included, have gotten used to buggy gaming experiences and can roll with it. For me, the game that I could roll with was Days Gone, a game where the technical performance had such a disastrous impact on sales that Sony canned the planned sequel, much to my sadness. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Days Gone is a masterpiece, because it isn't. I'm not even going to tell you that Days Gone is underrated, because it isn't. Days Gone has a pretty sizable fan base and has received both the recognition and criticism that it deserved, at least in my opinion. However, what it didn't deserve was to have its sequel scrapped. Days Gone felt like one of those games with such untapped potential and ideas that I could see being given justice in a sequel, yet will unfortunately never see that possibility. Days Gone was just a fun game in my opinion, with a likeable lead character. Deacon St. John was by no means an Arthur Morgan, but he got the job done. It helped that he was portrayed by the very good Sam Witwer. Now, I love Sam Witwer. Okay, when I was very young, I loved Star Wars The Force Unleashed. I even loved The Force Unleashed 2. Now, it's been some time since I played either game, and I did play it on the Nintendo DS, so it's not like I got the true gaming experience, but those memories of Starkiller have persisted, and knowing that he's also the voice of Darth Maul in Star Wars The Clone Wars enhanced my appreciation of him. Admittedly, there are a few moments in the game where Deacon just mumbles to himself, and I genuinely have no idea what he's saying. We're just driving down the road and then Deacon starts grumbling to himself about zombies or something, but aside from this, which could be more of a sound error or a directing error than an acting one, Sam Witwer is great as Deacon. He makes Deacon, who could otherwise have been a very one-note protagonist, likeable, and I felt that Deacon had actual personality to him. Like I said, don't come into this game expecting a character like Arthur Morgan, where you hang on every single one of his words and care for him like you would care for a family member, because you won't. But I would be surprised if you came into this game and thought Deacon was a terrible character. Like the game, he isn't a standout from the previous console generation, but he is a very enjoyable character to spend time with. Fortunately, Deacon is not the only character in the cast that has been imbued with likability. One of the greatest strengths of Days Gone is its extended cast. Days Gone doesn't have the most memorable story in the world, although I do like the reveal involving Deacon's wife and where the story progresses from there, but fortunately any story shortcomings or lulls in excitement are negated by the cast of Days Gone being surprisingly strong. Standing head and shoulders above the rest is Boozer, who is to some extent the comedic relief of the game. Boozer really gets put through the ringer in this game, and he's the character that the game really loved to put in deadly situations, as the developer clearly knew that he would be the character the gamers latched onto. In the apocalyptic world of Days Gone, Boozer is the warmth that both the player and Deacon needed. Sarah is a surprising character as she was both much colder and meaner than I expected her to be, but a lot of this can be attributed to both the setting of the game and her time away from Deacon making her more hostile to those around her. Despite sitting out a large portion of the game, Sarah is the character who arguably has the biggest character growth out of anyone in the game, and the character who my view have changed the most over the game's course. She can be at times unlikable and prickly, but she also has this kindness to her, and she clearly cares about the people around her, even the ones that she doesn't have the best relationship with. I love Sarah and Deacon's relationship, and I love that they bring the best out of each other. Ricky was a curious character. Like Boozer, Deacon and Sarah, I liked her. She always seems more of a secondary character than those three, and after a certain point in the story, she disappears along with the majority of the characters. However, unlike Boozer, who disappears at the same point Ricky does, I never really missed a character. This isn't to suggest that she was a poor character. No, just that she was a character that had room to have her layers peeled back in a sequel that isn't coming. Ricky was a fine character and a fun one, but she was the character that I would have loved to see them expanded upon much more in a sequel. Iron Mike was great. Anytime he was on screen, I just felt happy. He felt like a true leader and that kind old man archetype who always looks after the people around him. It was clear to see why all the characters followed him and why even Deacon seemed to have some respect for him. If there's one area of the characters that fell flat for me, then it would be the villains. The villains in this game suck. Obviously, I'm not counting the zombies because the zombies are a very fun aspect of this game. Schizo was so clearly going to turn to the dark side of the Force that the big reveal that he was a Sith Lord was laughable. Carlos was just kind of there. He was the stereotypical, I'm a character in an apocalypse setting, so I'm just going to go insane and start burning people. He was a very weak character, and I felt nothing when Deacon killed him. Colonel Garrett was a character that I actually sort of liked, although his speeches were wild. The guy just couldn't stand still, and the game really perfectly captured that feeling of being forced to go to a social gathering against your will when you would much rather be anywhere else. The story is enjoyable enough. The gameplay is fun, although, and I know this may be blasphemous to say, I think you should play Days Gone on easy mode. Why? Because nothing was more fun in Days Gone than rolling around in the grass one-shotting morons with my crossbow. On normal difficulty, you have to shoot enemies twice with the crossbow to kill them, which completely ruins my stealth strategy, as all the enemies become alerted once the guy with a crossbow bolt in his arm starts shouting out. If Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, a notoriously difficult game, figured out that the best way to do stealth in a game was to have one-shot kills, then surely Days Gone should have known that too. Another issue I have is the lack of enemy variety. The base enemies are totally fine, and I'm glad that they left the hordes as just a large group of normal enemies, as that would have gotten annoying fast. But the different types of zombies in Days Gone are sadly very generic. I do love the zombie bears and zombie wolves, and I really wish they pushed the zombie animal aspect further, because most of the different zombie types are essentially the same, and are unlikely to be anything new to anyone who's ever played a zombie game before. Now, a lot of these issues I have could have been rectified in a sequel. A. You improved the enemy design. B. You create a more memorable antagonist. C. You flesh out the surviving characters from the first. D. You adjust the game's difficulty slightly and improve the stealth mechanics. And E. You just go completely crazy with the story. Days Gone had one of the craziest post-credit missions I've seen, and it made me so excited for a sequel. It even would have potentially addressed points A, B, C, and E from my criticisms. Days Gone had such potential, and I feel it really deserved a second chance to refine itself and become a gaming franchise that people could connect to. But alas, it was not meant to be, and I wouldn't be surprised if Days Gone becomes one of those cult classic games where we have to wait 10 years for the game to make enough of a profit, causing the developer to make a remake or remaster for later generation hardware so that they can make an actual sequel to the game we love. We can only hope for this outcome. Let me know in the comments how you feel about Days Gone and whether you're sad that we'll never get a sequel to Days Gone. Anyway, that's it for now. Bye bye.